Hello, namaste, warm greetings to all of you wherever you are. I'm so excited for this AMA, not only because I'm quite passionate about accessibility, but I'm thrilled to be joined today with some amazing people, my colleagues, who are experts, advocates, evangelists, and much more in this space. We have Ben Watt, we have Carolina Hernandez, we have Hector Minto on camera, and we have a great team behind the scenes helping with the Q&A to help answer your questions. So thank you to everyone participating in the CMA. I'm Haji Dalwal, and I'm part of the Windows Commercial team. Specifically, I'm a product marketing manager for Windows Commercial. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Supporting Accessibility with Windows 11 AMA. We'd love to hear from you. We want to answer your questions, so please post them in the chat, and we'll do our best to get them answered. So before we jump to the panel, let's answer this question, like why are we doing this topic as an AMA? Well, not all disabilities are immediately apparent. In fact, about 70% of disabilities are invisible to the eye. They can be permanent, they can be temporary, they can be situational, they can be for other reasons. Accessible technology can allow people to fully participate at home, at work, anywhere, and we want to help you make sure you can enable that tech for people in your organization. There are over 1 billion people in this world with disabilities. So let's work together and make a difference. Ben, Carolina, and Hector, let's start by introducing yourselves and let everyone know what you do. So Ben, why don't you go first?
Thanks, Harjit. Yes, at Microsoft, I am a senior cloud solution architect within our modern work customer success unit, but I'm also an accessibility champion. So I'm regularly talking to our customers about all things accessibility.
All right, Carolina.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Carolina Hernandez. I'm a principal PM here at Microsoft, and I lead the Windows Accessibility product team. And I have been at the company for about 13 years, and I'm super excited to be on this panel today and with all of you.
And I'll finish off. Hi everyone, I'm Hector Minto. I'm the lead accessibility evangelist for Microsoft. I work within our Technology for Fundamental Rights team. And I work with our field organization to make sure that we're building teams to go and deliver messaging on the investments we make on accessibility and disability. So great to be with you.
Awesome, awesome. We got some great experiences here, and this is amazing to have all of you together. So Ben and I go a little, some long ways here, working together from my previous role, and also we've been doing some accessibility evangelism, and it's been fun. We just had a video on tackling tech, and that's doing really well. It's hitting people in the right places that to make sure they know about Windows 11 accessibility. So to kick things off, coming on the heels of Build, right? One of some of the announcements that were there. What's new with AI and accessibility? Who wants to go?
I'll tell you what I think was the most exciting thing was the consistency of co-pilots across Windows and that messaging around Copilot and what that might mean for the discoverability of accessibility features. I meet customers every day and they don't know about features that have been there since like Windows 95 features that were there. But they're new to disability. They don't, so discoverability and awareness is probably our biggest challenge out there. So when you see us start to think of like the Copilot functionality, increasing the discoverability of features and settings, to me, that really is kind of almost like a holy grail for us in the accessibility space that we're starting to tackle as a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Ben, do you have anything to add to AI?
No, I think on the AI side, I think Hector covered it off really nicely. That discoverability thing has always been an issue. I always point at sticky keys as being the thing that was always the most discoverable feature in Windows, mostly because you would accidentally come across it, but AI should hopefully make that a little bit easier to come across.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we are definitely living now the AI era, right? And we're going to see more and more and more of that in every aspects of our life, not just Windows and accessibility. So it's exciting times. let's jump to a quick question here. We have a question from Craig, and he says, while I understand cloud services are a great way at enhancing accessibility features, is Microsoft committed to improving and enhancing the inbuilt accessibility experience for completely on-premises scenarios where the Windows clients have no internet connectivity? Carolina, I see you nodding your head. Do you want to take that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, we are committed to that. And actually, we want to make sure that all of the features that we're shipping in Windows are available to everyone, whether they have connectivity or not. And so I'll give you two great examples of two features that we actually just introduced into Windows 11, live captions and voice access. So live captions helps everyone, including people who are deaf and hard of hearing, consume audio content, right, with a transcription. This feature is actually, interestingly, with the previous question, it is powered by AI. So we do bring models down into the client. So once you set up the machine, the models are actually downloaded and all of the data processing happens on the device. So you can actually watch a video that you have downloaded and be completely offline and be able to use that feature all the time. The second feature that I mentioned is voice access, which helps everyone, including people who have limited mobility, command and control their PC with their voice, right? In this feature, similarly, we download all of those models, so they're available offline. So if you don't have any connectivity, say you're on a plane or you're in a library where you don't have connectivity. I know that a lot of libraries today have internet access, but if you don't have it, right, you are able to use voice access and still command and control your PC as if you were online. And so we are definitely committed to bringing all of these features for everyone that's using Windows across all of the different scenarios.
So whether you're connected to the internet or not, it's going to be functional. Yeah, I do notice that when you first try to implement Windows 11 accessibility features, especially live captions, you do get the option of downloading those models. How about let's expand that a little bit. What about updates to those models as we are building more functionality and stuff like that? How does that work?
Yeah. So right now, the way that this works is that we are using the store as our delivery method. And so if you're a Windows Insider, which I really hope you are, one of the features that we have introduced to our Windows Insider population is we're actually bringing more languages to our global live caption support. When we shipped this in GA, we only supported English. And now through the updates that we're delivering through the store and right now on the Windows Insider program, you can have about 10 more languages that are supported for our feature for live captions.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the additional languages and live captions are part of the May 2023 continuous innovation release. So that's why we've added these additional languages, which is really cool. And I can't wait to see a lot more in the future. So, and then you touched upon. Sure, go ahead.
Can I quickly say something on the reason for offline as well, or the how it's being received out there with customers? For many customers, the processing, where the data is processed, is an issue for them in terms of their policies. And we've already heard from banks, government organisations around the world that having this option of offline captioning is incredibly useful. Really amazing for them, where they've not been able to kind of get through their group policy some of the other caption options available to their teams. So it's not just for people who are disconnected in regions, it's also for industries that demand that extra level of security or privacy. It's letting them have that as a great option. One other thing I'm just going to say is I do events every day where we need a live captioner, okay? And it's like the idea that all businesses have the option to have live captions at their in-person events. They don't, they don't have the budgets, there aren't the personnel necessarily to do it. And so what we're finding now is I'm going to events and we are literally running Windows captions all day and they're amazing. I mean, they are genuinely amazing. Just using like a Surface with that far-field mic pickup, you're sort of literally having a professional quality event with captioning there. And you can't believe it. You genuinely can't believe it because I'll just kudos to Carolina for kind of getting this kind of done. You can increase the font size, you can increase the window size, you can unpin it, you can move it to your separate screen at an event. It's a super useful feature. It's making all of our events more accessible.
Right, absolutely. And I'm really glad that, Hector, that you brought up about the offline stuff, right? It's about regulation. Some companies, I know when I was in the back in my university days, there's some departments that actually could not have connectivity to the internet, so they had to do patching and stuff like that offline, which is exactly this what you said here.
We do need to challenge assumptions sometimes. I'll just add that as an extra. So people see that magic on screen and they assume it's online. They 100% assume it's online. So they're kind of turning it off anyway without actually coming to us and asking kind of, where is this processed? So, we need to make sure the message lands.
Yeah, absolutely.
I suppose just while we're kind of before you can't let it get to that. Both Harjit and Hector know how much I love live captions, so I'm not going to let us move on until I've said something. I love them, but also just while we're kind of talking about that kind of offline side of things, the frequently asked questions link that we pushed on the screen a minute ago has a link through that also lets you download that pack. So if you need to apply that offline, so maybe that device is never going to be on the internet, that's also possible as well. And just bear in mind that the devices that are online, to make sure that that store is enabled too, so that you can receive those ongoing updates. But also, I love live captions.
Great tip, and that's your 5 minutes of fame. All right, so we got a question from Karen. Live captions in Windows 11 is awesome. Thank you. But is there a plan in the works for translation option, especially now that Microsoft Translator is no longer web-based or a Windows app?
Well, thank you, Karen, for the question. And I'm so excited that you also are a live captions fan. Live translation or translation is actually one of our top customer requests. And so definitely we'll be taking that back to the team as well as we continue to plan future investments for live captions in Windows.
All right.
And just as an option to explore, one of the things that people don't know about is PowerPoint through web. So, PowerPoint through web gives you the option to have a QR code at the start of all of your presentations and have that translation into other caption languages. It's landed really well in schools, in education. It seems to have landed there, but in enterprise, in the workplace, in kind of the consumer space, the friends and family community events space, it doesn't seem to have landed quite as well as it should have. So, get into PowerPoint through your browser and look for that PowerPoint live option and generate that QR code to give you live translation.
Oh, that's interesting. That is quite interesting. I didn't know about this QR code thing. So I just learned something new. That is
if you're working in an enterprise, you have to unlock it outside of your enterprise to give you that extra level of privacy security. Okay. But if you unlock it to anyone outside your organization, we use it all the time. I was running an event for the UN recently, and it was like, you can't run a UN event without offering kind of multi-language translation, right?
Excellent. That's a great tip. Oh my God. All right. So we got a question from our friend Stephen Rose. I would love to understand how this group feels about live captions and other key accessibility features found in Teams have moved to a paid product, Teams Premium, and how those affect the quality of these features in Windows.
I'm happy to take that. So there should never be a kind of a payment up for accessibility. That's generally kind of our view. Language translation is not what we would call strictly accessibility and disability inclusion. So as it stands today, that language translation is a Teams premium feature. But things like sign language interpreter view, the other aspects, the immersive reader built into the chat in Teams, etc., the blurred background for lip reading, they're all built in. If there are specific things that you think are in premium that really should be in the non-premium version, I would get that through the Disability Antidesk, which we've got the link for, and just kind of, make your views known to us. But for me, I've been 27 years in assistive tech and accessibility, right? So I know all the cost models that we've explored around the world on doing this. We're blurring the lines now between kind of inclusive design and accessibility. It's like transcription is a productivity tool, but my word, it's useful, right? If you're dyslexic and taking notes. So it's like, what is accessibility and what is inclusive design? it's getting trickier. It's actually getting harder to kind of, make sure that we get that message across.
Yeah, the line is getting murky there, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
is this part of accessibility? Is this not? Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
but in a way, like we're trying to be inclusive in all aspects, of what we use, right? Windows and productivity tools and stuff like that. So,
I don't want to hog the chat, but it also kind of shows the advantage of that offline non-cloud consumption option, right? Live captions instead of Teams captions. You could run Teams live captions, Windows live captions over Teams, and get your captions, and you can compare them. Maybe we're moving to that world where the offline option is kind of, going to become more commonplace, and that kind of takes away that need for us to worry about the cost of providing some of these cloud services in the solutions we build.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Ben, I'm going to call you out here. So since Hector mentioned the disability answer desk, I'm going to give you the opportunity to let our viewers know what that is all about.
Yeah, so there are two disability answer desks. There's the one from the consumer side, and then there's the enterprise disability answer desk as well. You can throw your questions there. There's a great team behind there that can answer all your kind of queries behind that. So definitely check out the link at the bottom there, and throw any of your questions there. Great team. We use them here in Microsoft as well quite often when we need answers to some of those harder questions around some of our accessibility tools.
Yeah, and at the onset of COVID, the call volumes shot up for the disability answer desk. I mean, people were starting like, how do I manage and be accessible at home? I shifted from work to home and things like that. So the call volumes went up, and they were able to help all of these people work around and come up with some solutions. So we get another question. Third-party screen reading products have the ability to offload workloads, speech, braille, and so on, right? Between a Windows VDI and a Windows endpoint. Is there anything similar planned for Windows native accessibility features? So it's like, Carolina, is this your question?
Sure. Yeah, right now, for Windows accessibility features, one of the things that we have been able to do is to ensure that some of these features run like local on these devices. It does require an enterprise to allow the access for the data to come through. But essentially, we have a little bit of a different approach, where the goal that we have is for the user or the customer to be able to use their local assistive technology within that remote session. In this, really, for us, the way that we've done this is we've seen more enterprises working with remote apps. And so those are right now the scenarios where we ensure that if you're using an app that essentially looks like a local app, that you're able to use your local assistive technology with them. And then for cases where you have a full remote machine that you're using, our recommendation is to use the assistive technologies that are present on that remote machine, right? Windows, no matter what virtual machine you have, right, it comes with all of the Windows assistive technologies. And so you have those already in that machine so that you can use those in there as well.
Okay. And we recently added support for Braille, right? Braille display, right?
Yeah, so Narrator has been supporting Braille through open source. So we support Braille TTY and LibLouis are the libraries that we use. And then in our most recent February update, one of the things that we did is we updated that support. And so with that, we've been able to update the number of devices and support more modern devices that have been introduced into the market. And so yes, we're super excited that we're able to support some of these new, especially some of these new devices that our Design for Surface team has partnered with in the HumanWare, from the HumanWare company. And so it's super exciting to have kind of that hardware and software combination story coming to our customers.
Yeah. No, this is awesome. And we got a great question from Steve. Where do older people or people with age-related disabilities fit into Microsoft's taxonomy? Ben, Hector?
Well, they fit in same as anything else. I always kind of, it gives me hope actually when we put all these settings in, that as I get older, that anything that I might require, there's some kind of answer to. So, I was born hard of hearing, so I already ticked that box at an early age. But if it had come to me later in life, knowing that things like the live captions was there to back that up would help. So I kind of feel like everything that we do, I don't know how Hector and the others feel, is just as inclusive of age-related as anything else.
Yeah, I think we've done all our solutions. So have been very inclusive for everything, vision, hearing, and so on. We haven't narrowed down that this is for an age thing, or this is for a younger crowd, or this is for. It's just with me, right?
I would say the onboarding for age-related disability is different, though, right? So if you look at kind of, people's relationship with their phone, you kind of see people my age all the time getting further and further away from their phone. It's like, just make the font size bigger, mate, right?
Yeah.
So that idea is like, you've got to know the options there. And I think, therefore, the work that Carolina's doing on discoverability of accessibility features, that's where it really, I hope it hasn't escaped people's notice that on Windows 11, it's next to your Wi-Fi and your VPN for your basic accessibility features sit there now. You had to know how to press Windows key U or to go into the accessibility settings to even know that accessibility settings exist, right? If we're putting these features right in the front of house next to in the Action Center in Windows, we're hitting more people. But there's still more to do. And I think this goes back to the Copilot conversation we had out of Build, right? But I do think this concept of Microsoft's mission is to heighten discoverability of accessibility features, and that's core in terms of learning and just product experiences. That's the way. I always think when I open up Forza on Xbox, it's like every kid in the world is seeing this word accessibility and they're thinking, what is this, right? Because we're getting braver about bringing it out to the kind of the front of house. So I think, kudos to Carolina and the team for kind of, really kind of having that as one of the missions here.
Absolutely. And also, folks like Ben here, who actually had pushed me, in so many ways, that, a year or 2 years. And he's like, hey, we got to highlight this. We got to bring this into documentations. We got to, in blogs and stuff like that. So I've definitely increased my, focus on accessibility.
Yeah.
And
I call it confidence as well, Harjit. It's confidence. It's confidence for Ben to talk about his lived experience, right? That you need a culture where it's good, and you add value to the conversation, and then it's on everybody else, every one of us to kind of go, come on, let's take this on, right? Us in the tech sector, we have a privilege of talking about this topic.
Exactly. And on that question earlier, so we got a +1 from Karen. She says, sometimes menus or designs seem to change, but for the sake of an updated look, but it means reteaching the older members in my family, and the change doesn't always have a productivity enhancement. That's what she says.
That's 100% true. but needs must, and products are not static now, are they? They kind of update all the time. There's kind of real fight for that space, but we understand it is a constant conversation.
Yeah, we're on a servicing model now for pretty much all our techs right now. So we got a question from Gizzy. First, as a deaf or hard of hearing person, describe transcription as an accessibility function, and with a smiley face. I depend on it to functionally work. Now I know this isn't a Teams AMA, but why can Teams default to our Windows settings for caption styling so that the Teams option can be simple toggle on and off?
All brilliant comments. I'll just go. I'll have a quick shoot it, and then others jump in. But so first things first. Transcription being a productivity feature versus an accessibility feature. I think we covered that. With the lines are blurring, but I absolutely take it from you, Gizzy, that's your view. we should be responding to that and kind of thinking about that and feeding it back. It's like customer expectation on what is default in products is a is rising. More people need these features, so 100%. On the linking into the Windows default features, the new Teams version that I'm playing with right now, I've probably got a slight insider version here, gives you that personalization, but it still doesn't talk to the Windows setting. I'm not sure the rationale. Probably that it's probably a multi-platform design, right?
Sure.
But I don't know. But it at least gives you height of window, color of text, and size of text in the new version of Teams.
And it also gives you scroll back, so you can scroll back up to a minute back in the caption. So that's coming in the production version of Teams very soon, and I've been using it for quite some time. It's been great. Because it's almost been a bit of live captions I loved so much in Windows 11 was having more lines back of captions, and that's now there in Teams. And I think one of the things they mentioned as well there was about captions being on by default, and that's also now a setting that we're bringing into Teams so that you can, and that's what I do. I have that always on by default at the start of every call.
Right. Yeah, if things go too fast and stuff like that, at least you can go back, like kind of a rewind.
Yeah, or if you're maybe not paying as close attention as you meant to.
Never happens, Ben. That doesn't happen.
You're multitasking.
All right, so this one's a good question. Can you talk through the differences in accessibility features between Windows 10 and 11?
Yeah, I can take a stab. I think one of the things that I'll say is that Windows 11 has brought just a whole host of new and improved accessibility features over Windows 10. And so I think if you look, I'll talk a little bit more about like some of the fantastic things that we've done in Windows 11 over the past couple of years since we've released it. But I think there has been things like we talked about increasing the discoverability about our features, right? One of the things that we did at the beginning of Windows 11 is we really took a deep look at how are people finding these features, and we found out that people that needed them were not finding them, and people that didn't know they needed them, but they couldn't find them, because this term that we used to have in Windows 10, which is ease of access, was trying to be everything, and at the end was being nothing. Nobody would understand what it was or what were the features that were there. And so we took a journey to figure out, like, how do we make this more discoverable for everyone that needs them, but also just really more discoverable for the population and the people that we're aiming to serve, right? People with disabilities. And so we aligned with accessibility. We aligned our iconography with a human feature, because what we want to do is to empower every human, every person, right, in the planet to achieve more. And we want to do that with Windows. We want you to discover our features. And so we changed the name, we aligned the iconography. And as Hector mentioned, we also brought out our accessibility features into this very, I would call surface level places in Windows so that everyone could discover them. We've also brought things like a lot of improvements for Narrator, our screen reader for people who are blind, inclusive of better support for edge and browsing experiences, but also our new natural voices that have had just amazing reviews, because they are so natural and just so pleasant to listen to. But we also brought the ability to have reading for our magnifier. We know that when people are losing their vision, right, one of the things that you find is that, you could do magnification, but at some point your eyes get really tired. And so you need to start to have a little bit of that reading capability. And so we added the reading ability to magnifier. And so we really looked at that vision spectrum and brought a lot of improvements over Windows 10. And then I mentioned we brought brand new experiences, right, that we talked about, live captions and voice access. And so I won't cover this, but those are brand new on Windows 11. And then last but not least, we also brought, we were talking about, for age, or for like, how do we think about developing features for people who are maybe in the older demographic? We don't really think about it that way, but I'll give you 3 features that I think are started with our disability that are new in Windows 11 that I think can help everyone. One is going to be text sizing. So you'll find that in Windows 11, one of the things that we do is you have a slider to control the text sizing across Windows in your applications, and that helps everyone. You can crank it up to like 180%, and that helps people who have very low vision, or you can go just 110% if you have a monitor that is very large and you're kind of squinting to try to see the text. And so that's one that is great in Windows 11. And I think Hector is maybe using it. The next one is your mouse pointer. We added the ability to personalize your mouse pointer. And so you can make it larger or you can make it pink. And so that's my favorite one. That's my color. And so why did we do that? We did it again. We started with this low vision and the inability for people to find, this tiny little white mouse in a sea of mostly, white. Websites have a white background, or you have your documents that have a white canvas. And so you can make it larger, you can make it pink, so you can find it whether you have low vision or you have a big monitor. And then you can do the same with a caret. And so if you are also having trouble finding the caret when you're, authoring your text, you can also make it larger, and you can also personalize and add a color. And so those are some of the features that we have added in Windows 11. And we really have been focused on, again, discoverability, ease of use, and making sure that you have the tools to be productive, whether you have a disability or whether you can use some of the benefits of this inclusively designed features for your own workflow.
I love what you said.
Can I add a couple, Harjit? Because I'm sure Ben's going to want to add one or two as well. But, I think we all have our favorites in terms of the things that have landed. Voice typing or dictate, Windows key H, hit Windows key H now. Yeah. And it's got the option to automatically trigger you to dictate. So it's got like a text placement piece. So whenever you go into a text box, whether you're on Instagram, whether you're on LinkedIn, whether you're, no matter where you are, it offers you voice typing, which changes again the discoverability and the flow. And also, Carolina, you haven't mentioned probably one of my favorites, which is the contrast themes.
Oh my goodness!
Contrast themes in Windows 11 are gorgeous. Now, contrast themes in Windows 10 and back made you feel like you were going back to 1984 because they were kind of like, it just felt like an inferior experience in Windows. Those contrast themes now, I challenge you all to just spend a day in a high contrast theme and you'll love it. It's just like a different design, but optimized for low vision. So I'm getting feedback all the time from the low vision community that they absolutely love the attention to detail that went into the contrast themes in Windows.
Yeah.
What's your favorite as well? Do I get some? Well, you know what my favorite one is already, but I will add on to that. I don't think we mentioned focus mode, or if we did, I wasn't giving it close enough attention. But I love that because I use that in my day-to-day work. The number of times where, I want to just focus for an hour, and to have that ability to hide all those badge counters so that you're not tempted back down to see what the latest Teams message is. Okay, I still have to hide my phone, but on my PC, if I concentrate, it's just such a great way. So I use that all the time. Just a really nice, easy to do down in the calendar, turn it on for an hour, however much long I think I can focus on a particular topic at hand. And I find that really great. And then I guess more on the kind of sort of fringe edge of things, particularly as somebody that's hard of hearing, I really appreciate just those little touches. So things like the sound schemes in Windows 11, that sounds like a ridiculous thing to maybe bring up, but those covering the full kind of range that a human could hear, I really appreciate that, because the number of times I watch a television program and somebody just gets up and walks over and picks up the phone and I go, what happened there? Because I didn't hear the phone ring. It was in a different frequency from what I could hear. So
are you talking about the mono,
like that, like the
sound effects? Are you talking about the mono sound?
Yeah. All this kind of sound effects you'll hear when you log on, when something goes wrong, all that kind of thing, cover that whole human range. So I love little touches like that.
Oh my God, this is amazing. Yeah, so I really loved it. One of the best things we did is actually made accessibility so we can find it from ease to access, right? Ease of access in Windows 10 to accessibility makes sense. And then, I love the pointer, mouse pointer. I do that often too when I'm doing presentations and stuff, right? Just make it bigger, change the color and stuff like that. Another feedback I get about the mouse pointer is people working with multiple screens at home. Like, where's my mouse? Now they can find it, right? If they just change it, change the color to green or purple or whatever you want. And
There is a
lot of
setting
good
for this,
stuff.
Harjit, though. There's a setting, and it's quite an old setting, but if you go into mouse settings, advanced mouse options, there's an option to hit your control key and make it pulse. So it will pulse at you to help you find it. So there's another one for you.
Another one. This is awesome. Love it. All right, we got a question. What settings as an IT admin to needs or be aware of so that um, their users can access all the Windows 11 accessibility features? Ben, you want to take this?
I'm happy to jump in, because this is something that comes up quite a lot. It's all great talking about these features, but have we intentionally or accidentally disabled those for our users? So from a Windows side of things, I would flag things like if you in your organization normally hide certain parts of the settings section, is just be aware when you're setting up a page visibility list, and we tend to see this mostly with schools, but other customers will do this too, where they'll hide certain settings. Don't hide any of the accessibility settings. And there's basically a whole range of settings under page visibility list. And they all start with the old name, ease of access, but they're quite easily identifiable. And so what you can do is you can use those to make sure that you don't hide the settings that are kind of critical for somebody to make use of those. And the other one I'll call out, we kind of touched on it a bit earlier, is for things like live captions and voice access, just make sure that you're not disabling completely the store, so that those updates can come down and can be easily downloaded as and when your users first make use of those features. So those are the two kind of big ones from a Windows side. And although we're mostly talking about Windows today, I'll also call out a great thing that was brought in a couple of weeks ago, the Microsoft 365 app side of things, is that we now have a accessibility baseline that basically tells you, here's all the settings in Office, aka so 365 apps, that you need to enable to make sure that these settings are there. And I think that's great. Anything we can do that helps organizations know what they need to enable to get these into the hands of their users, the better.
Great call outs. And seriously, what otherwise, please don't disable these Windows, these accessibility features. Don't torture your people, right? Let them have these tools so they can use it the way they want to use it and be productive and function as everybody. So we'll take one more questions, and then I want to get into our inclusive design and what we're hearing from customers and things like that. And so let's take one question from Diane. What do you recommend for those that are colorblind, red or green being the primary issue?
Yeah. So actually in Windows, we have color filters that help people who are colorblind. And so we actually have the ability to change the colors that come through your screen. So if you have red, green color blindness or any of the other two, which I can't remember at the top of my head, you can actually select that setting. In Windows, will apply essentially a filter over your own over your entire screen. So no matter where those colors are shown, you will have enough contrast to be able to tell them apart. And so please do check it out, because it is really one of the great features that we have in Windows that just helps everyone. And it can help people who are, again, colorblind, or say, for example, you're a designer and you're trying to make sure that the colors that you're designing are going to be accessible. You can switch through those and see the different contrasts and how a person who has that color blindness is going to be able to see your content. And so both from a user perspective, but also from a content development perspective, these things can help you make sure that you're seeing the right data.
And there's a hotkey for this, Control Windows C.
You have to enable it, yeah. But once you've got it, you can just kind of quickly toggle it on and off to get when you're confronted with a situation.
Yeah, and I'll call out that kind of example you gave there of of using those filters to kind of see how the grayscale one is very good for that, for when you're maybe producing a graphic, when you realize that actually it means nothing without those colors and you need to rethink. And we've just recently announced that's coming into the Microsoft 365 app side of things, that in PowerPoint you have a nice little button to do inspect without color, and it will turn all your slides at grayscale as well. So it's nice things that we're doing in that area.
Right. And speaking of hotkeys, what are your favorites? What do you guys each of you like to use?
Windows U, straight into the accessibility settings.
This
Some-
is
some
like a
people-
test of your age, isn't it, Ben?
Hector.
It's like, how old are you, and how old are you to remember these keystrokes? I still use Alt-ITD to put the date in on a document because I learnt it like when I was like 15 or something.
That's a good one.
Actually, if you just go into Office and just hit your Alt key and just let all the shortcut keys light up in front of you, it's a wonderful lesson for people in kind of, times when you don't need to use your mouse. People don't do it enough.
This is a great session. I love this. Lots of great stuff coming out here. A lot of great tips. Amazing, amazing. All right. So let's now focus into how did we at Microsoft approach accessibility from an inclusive design for Windows 11.
Yeah, so I think as a team, we really have big ambitions, right? We really aspire to create efficient, fun, and delightful experiences for people with disabilities and without. And we know that to create these experiences, we need to put the people at the center. And so we really embrace the disability motto, nothing about us without us, to create those products. And so in order for us to really put the people at the center, really adopt the motto, nothing about us without us, one of the main things that we did in our team is that we have creators in our team that are as diverse as the audience that we want to serve. And so we hired people with disabilities to be the product makers, to drive those investments so that their lived experiences could help guide and innovate in the solutions that we delivered. And, while we want to have a product makers that, reflect the whole spectrum of disability, that's also really hard to do because we're a very diverse set of customers that we support across Windows. And so in order to bring this really inclusively designed experiences and this commitment, we really developed really close partnerships with the community to help us co-create Windows accessibility features with us. And so we have advisory boards across vision, mobility, and hearing disabilities that essentially come in lockstep with us to both help us look at the problem space, look at the definition of those solutions, and then give us a feedback to say, like, yeah, you really solved it, or like, hey, here's how you, like, here's maybe some of the issues that I'm still having with the solution that you're presenting me. And so we really are really looking at working with the community, working with people to understand where are opportunities and to deliver these solutions that are going to enable people with disabilities to achieve more. And then one of the beautiful things that we have found is that when you start with people with disabilities, with the problems, you focus on that, we end up also solving for other folks. Like, Ben, you mentioned focus, which I can't believe I forgot because I use it all the time as well. Focus is one of those fantastic features where we worked really closely with people with ADHD to understand how the distractions in Windows were really affecting their productivity. And so we were able to develop this focus sessions and this ability to help kind of calm Windows down to give you a perfect setting to focus without those distractions. And while that was a great feature for people with ADHD, we've been getting fantastic feedback from everyone, right? Saying like, oh my goodness me, I didn't recognize how much, the toast notifications or the little blinking in the taskbar was distracting me during the day.
Yeah.
And so I can just turn it off and jam in my document and get it done. And so for us, again, really focus on making those efficient, fun, and delightful experiences with the people we aim to serve, and really looking at expanding that benefit of those features to everyone on Windows. And so,
yeah, and we're living the mantra in the accessibility community, right? Not about us, without us. It's true. I mean, seriously, we can be designing things without them telling us how these things work or should work. And fantastic, fantastic. Hector, I believe you're a ambassador for accessibility in the UK government and stuff like that. Did you want to touch upon, like, from the customer's lens on accessibility?
It's maybe more of a call out to the whole tech sector to just get more confident on accessibility. I mean, what you're seeing here from Carolina and the amazing Windows team is like just increasing confidence every version, with great leadership from Panos in the team kind of saying, I want this, I want this to happen. We rely on technology in society, whether it's for banking, retail, healthcare, education. The tech sector as a whole needs to just pick up this accessibility baton and actually start looking at how it's making its products cooler, sexier, more inclusive, And whenever people ask me about kind of the difference between kind of old Windows, new Windows, or Office 365 and kind of old on-prem Office, it's always like we've just added a layer of cognition and Azure into it to make it more inclusive. We have this opportunity in the tech sector as a whole to just get into accessibility. So my role with the government is really just to get the whole tech sector behind it in two ways. Customer experiences, are we building inclusive customer experiences? But also disability employment. Governments are focused on making sure people with disabilities are getting into work. And Carolina's telling you, disability talent inside your organization is what's going to help you build those great next generation of products. So
Absolutely.
The call to action for the tech sector is just like have this conversation in your own organization. There's so much more we can do in this space. And the tech sector is responsible for this digital transformation we're seeing around us in all industries. Don't be scared of the topic. It's none of the stuff we've shared with you today is daunting. It's just cool, right? It just drives more people using your product. So the tech sector's got a real opportunity to take a leading role here in society.
And what we're doing is actually bringing awareness and focus in the space, right? So I believe he's behind the scenes here helping with the Q&As, Matt Filipenko. We both actually attended the large accessibility conference in Orlando, and we did some sessions over there and stuff like that. I mean, it was mind-blowing. People were like, hey, I heard about Windows accessibility features, but I didn't know, I didn't know about it, or I didn't know how to use it, or I knew about it, but I didn't know how to use it, kind of a thing, right? So we showed them. I mean, they were just mind blown with, oh my God. Ben, we got 3 minutes. I want to give you an opportunity to say, I know you're working with customers, large customers, and your fellow IT pros and stuff like that. What do you have to say about it?
Yeah. I mean, it goes to what you kind of said there, is the more we talk about these things, both with our customers and even within Microsoft, the more people become aware. So when I talked earlier about being an accessibility champion, a big part of that within the UK, we have a V team within the CSU that's just all about accessibility, really passionate group of people. And we come at it from two sides. We make sure that our own people in Microsoft really know these features, are confident with them. But we also go out to our customers as well and make sure they know all about them. And we try and grab those opportunities whenever we can, where we're not preaching to the converted. Maybe a customer wasn't necessarily there to talk about accessibility, but there's a great opportunity to bring it into the conversation and maybe just make them kind of think again there. So that's what we're really about, and what I'm always about is if we're having a conversation, I'm going to mention accessibility at some point, whether you want to be to or not.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Hector, Carolina, Ben, amazing. This is great. We got to come back together. In fact, I'm going to bring you guys back on my Tackling Tech show. We're going to talk all about accessibility, get really deep into it. Thank you so much for being on this panel. And thank you for joining today's AMA. This ends our live stream. But we'll continue to answer your questions in the chat in the community for the next hour or so. So hope everybody enjoyed this AMA, and thank you to my awesome panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.